Testing 1, 2. Try it again. Testing 1, 2.
No, are you muted? Which number are you? 1 or 2?
Now, how about you?
Look at the back of it. Is that number 1 or number 2?
Should be working right now.
Is it number 1 or number 2?
Test 1, 2. Okay. All right, 18. Where's everybody?
Put that up for you if you want, so I can do it.
We need some singers.
You do. What you saying?
18. 18.
Blow ye the trumpet in Zion. Hey, look, it's Joel 1:3 and 2:1. And 2:1.
Ray, did you figure that out? When did you pick this song, Ray? Okay.
Oh, how funny.
Don't you love it?
Ready? Blow ye trumpet, Zion.
Shorts coming back to earth again. In the holy mountain sound a warning to all those bear the yoke
of sin.
Go tell your children and your children about the coming of our King. His feet will stand upon Mount Olives, salvation to the dying world to bring. Job prophesied in all his wisdom, and we need to walk the righteous path. It will be too late to pray for mercy when Yahweh pours out his vial of wrath. So tell your children and your children's children, something of our King. His feet will stand upon Mount Olives, salvation to the dying world to bring. Get that second verse right. Joel prophesied in all
his wisdom, walk the
righteous
path. It will be too late to pray for mercy when Yahweh pours out his vials of wrath.
That's it.
Okay. 14. 14.
Come away.
There's a moving of his spirit, causing blinded eyes to see. Gather round my precious jewels, separate yourself to me. Oh, you few who dare to listen, caring not what men may say, rising early to obey me, I will soon say, come away. Come away and be perfect. I am making plans for you. Will you hear what I am saying? Oh, my few, my precious few. In the midst of tribulation, when the storm is in command, there's a rock that you can hide in, covered by my mighty hand. I will answer when you call out. I will hear each prayer you pray. Rise up early to obey me. I will soon say, come away.
Come away.
Be perfect. I am making plans for you. Will you hear what I am saying? Oh, my few, my precious few. Father Yahweh, thank you for allowing us to gather together on the Sabbath day that you gave for us. Father, we ask that you send your spirit here. Give us the spirit of knowledge. Open our eyes that we see your truth. Give us a mind to understand. Give us the strength to walk in your footsteps. Thank you, Father, for everything you've given us throughout the week, for your protection, for everything we need. Father, we give thanks and ask all of this in Yeshua's name. Baruch Abba Hashem Yahweh. Blessed is he who comes in the name of Yahweh.
Is Miss Caitlin okay today?
Yeah, family lost a long-term pet, and she just emotionally wasn't there today.
We lost a long-term friend Thursday. Collision.
All right, not many announcements for just our normal ones. Prayer and praises board up here. If you have prayer and praises, put them up there for Miss Deborah to send out to us. If you want to read Torah, put your name up there, and thank you. We have a special.
Or get drafted.
Or
You
get
don't
drafted.
even have to put your name.
You can get voluntold.
Voluntold. I like that.
Yes, voluntold. Silent cell phones if you got them. New moon, 16th of September. Sunsets at 6:48. But that's Yom Teruah. So get ready. Feasts are upon us. For elders, Thursday, that's this Thursday, 31st, 3 p.m., elders meeting here. If you have items for the agenda, get them to me. And I've been asked to run the show for that meeting. And we're part of it, of course, we'll be planning for feasts coming up. So please be there if you can. Other than that, anything else from the floor that needs to come up? All right. Oh, Anthony?
Mike Abaduska, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yes.
Mike Abaduska said he'll be printing those 5-year cards with the feast dates on them. They're like business cards.
Oh, okay.
Brenda was inquiring, so I inquired. He said he'll be printing them in September for 5 years.
Okay.
Just a praise I want to make sure we do publicly, though, that Sister Joe's eyes, at least the first one,
Yes.
went well.
Yeah.
She sees clearly.
Mama Joe can see again.
I can.
So, yes, hallelujah. That's great. All right.
Another praise report.
William.
Brenda is safely in Connecticut. She's doing Special
Oh, it's
Olympics.
way up in Connecticut. I knew she was going, but I didn't realize it was so far.
Yeah, she's
Wow.
taking a girl who made national,
Oh, wow.
for Special Olympics. She representing Florida for this nation
Outstanding.
from her school.
That's great. Well, wish her safe
I don't know if I'm allowed to say her name or anything, so I'm
That's
not.
all right. We're fine. I hope she does well there. That's awesome. All right. Well, we have a special program today, so thank you.
Well, we have a Torah reading if nothing else. Hello, Caitlin.
That's okay.
So I won't be
It's not
transliterating
me.
names. I could, but I'm not going to slow down for that. All right. Good morning.
Good morning.
Help
Sure, the box parts.
All right, we're green, so we're not muted. Do I sound okay?
Actually, how did we get here?
It's green. All right, how about that?
Now it is.
Okay.
Okay.
You must have done that.
I don't know. It got muted.
Charlie did it.
All right, so let's see. Today is, this is what I get for, all right, the 26th. So our first reading is Deuteronomy 21, verse 10 through chapter 25, verse 19. So Deuteronomy chapter 21, verse 10 through 25, 19. Okay. All right. Let's see what it looks like. Okay. When you go forth to battle against your enemies, and Yahweh your Elohim delivers them into your hands, and you carry them away captive, and see among the captives a beautiful woman, and you have a desire for her, and would take her to you to wife, then you shall bring her to her home to your house, and she shall shave her head and trim her nails, and she shall put the raiment of her captivity from off her, and shall remain in your house and mourn for her father and her mother a full month. And after that, you shall go in to her and be her husband, and she shall be your wife. And it shall be, if you have no delight in her, then you shall let her go where she will. But you shall not sell her at all for money. You shall not deal with her as a slave, because you have humbled her. If a man has two wives, the one beloved and the other hated, and they have borne him children, both the beloved and the hated, and if the firstborn son is hers that was hated, then it shall be in the day that he causes his sons to inherit that which he has, that he may not make the son of the beloved the firstborn before the son of the hated, who is the firstborn. But he shall acknowledge the firstborn, the son of the hated, by giving him a double portion of all that he has. For his is the beginning of his strength, the right of the firstborn is his. If a man has a stubborn and rebellious son that will not obey the voice of his father or the voice of his mother, and though they chasten him, will not listen to them, then his father and his mother shall lay hold on him and bring him out to the elders of his city and to the gate of his place. And they shall say to the elders of his city, our son is stubborn and rebellious. He will not obey our voice. He is a glutton and a drunkard. And all the men of his city shall stone him to death with stones. So shall you put away the evil from among you, and all Israel shall hear and fear. And if a man has committed a sin worthy of death, and he is put to death, and you hang him on a tree, his body shall not remain all night on the tree, but you shall surely bury him the same day. For he that is hanged is cursed of Elohim, that you defile not your land, which Yahweh your Elohim is giving you for an inheritance. You shall not see your brother's ox or his sheep go astray, and hide yourself from them. You shall surely bring them to your brother. And if your brother is not near to you, or if you do not know him, then you shall bring it home to your house, and it shall be with you until your brother seeks it, and you shall restore it to him. And so shall you do with his ass, and so shall you do with his garment, and so shall you do with every lost thing of your brother's which he has lost, and you have found. You may not hide yourself. You shall not see your brother's ass or his ox fallen down by the way, and hide yourself from them. You shall surely help him to lift them up. The equipment of a warrior shall not be found on a woman, nor shall a warrior wear the mantle of a woman, because your Elohim detests all those doing this. If a bird's nest happens to be before you in the way, in any tree, or on the ground with young ones or eggs, and the mother sitting upon the young, or on the eggs, you shall not take the mother with the young. You shall surely let the mother go, but the young you may take to yourself, that it may be well with you, and that you may prolong your days. When you build a new house, then you shall make a guardrail for your roof, that you do not bring blood upon your house if any man falls from there. You shall not sow your vineyard with two kinds of seeds, lest the whole fruit be forfeited, the seed which you have sown, and the increase of the vineyard. You shall not plow with an ox and an ass together. You shall not wear a garment mixed of wool and linen together. You shall make for yourself fringes upon the four borders of your garment with which you cover yourself. If any man takes a wife and goes into her and hates her, and lays shameful things to her charge and brings up an evil name upon her and says, I took this woman, and when I came near to her, I did not find in her the tokens of virginity, then the father of the damsel and her mother shall take and bring forth the tokens of the damsel's virginity to the elders of the city in the gate. And the damsel's father shall say to the elders, I gave my daughter to this man for a wife, and he hates her. And lo, he has laid shameful things to her charge, saying, I did not find in your daughter the tokens of virginity, and yet these are the tokens of my daughter's virginity. And they shall spread the garment before the elders of the city, and the elders of that city shall take the man and chastise him. And they shall fine him 100 shekels of silver, and give them to the father of the damsel, because he has brought up an evil name upon a virgin of Israel. And she shall be his wife. He may not put her away all his days. But if this thing is true, that the tokens of virginity were not found in the damsel, then they shall bring out the damsel to the door of her father's house, and the men of her city shall stone her to death with stones, because she has wrought folly in Israel, to play the harlot in her father's house. So shall you put away the evil from among you. If a man is found lying with a woman married to a husband, then both of them shall die, the man that lays with the woman and the woman. So shall you put away the evil from Israel. If there is a damsel that is a virgin betrothed to a husband, and a man finds her in the city and lies with her, then you shall bring them both out to the gate of that city, and you shall stone them to death with stones. The damsel, because she cried not, being in the city, and the man, because he has humbled his neighbor's wife. So you shall put away the evil from among you. But if the man finds the damsel that is betrothed in the field, and the man forces her and lies with her, then the man only that lay with her shall die. But to the damsel you shall do nothing. There is in the damsel no sin worthy of death, for as when a man rises against his neighbor and kills him, even so is this matter. For he found her in the field, the betrothed damsel cried, and there was none to save her. If a man finds a damsel that is a virgin that is not betrothed, and lays hold on her and lies with her, and they are found, then the man that lay with her shall give to the damsel's father 50 shekels of silver, and she shall be his wife, because he has humbled her. He may not put her away all his days. A man shall not take his father's wife, and shall not uncover his father's skirt. He that is wounded in the stones, or has his private member cut off, shall not enter into the assembly of Yahweh. An illegitimate person shall not enter into the assembly of Yahweh. Even to the 10th generation shall none of his enter into the assembly of Yahweh. An Ammonite or a Moabite shall not enter into the assembly of Yahweh. Even to the 10th generation shall no one belonging to them enter into the assembly of Yahweh forever, because they did not meet you with bread and with water in your way when you came forth out of Egypt. And because they hired against you Balaam, the son of Beor, from Pethor of Mesopotamia, to curse you. Nevertheless, Yahweh your Elohim would not listen to Balaam, but Yahweh your Elohim turned the curse into a blessing to you, because Yahweh your Elohim loved you. You shall not seek their peace nor their prosperity all your days forever. You shall not abhor an Edomite, for he is your brother. You shall not abhor an Egyptian, because you were a sojourner in his land. The children of the 3rd generation that are born to them shall enter into the assembly of Yahweh. When you go forth in camp against your enemies, then you shall keep from every evil thing. If there is among you any man that is not clean by reason of that which happens to him by night, then he shall go abroad out of the camp. He shall not come into the camp. But it shall be when evening comes on, he shall bathe himself in water, and when the sun is down, he shall come into the camp. You shall have a place also outside the camp where you shall go forth abroad, and you shall have a paddle among your weapons. And it shall be when you sit down abroad, you shall dig with it, and shall turn back and cover that which comes from you. For Yahweh your Elohim walks in the middle of your camp to deliver you and to give up your enemies before you. Therefore shall your camp be holy, that he may not see an unclean thing in you and turn away from you. You shall not deliver to his master a servant that has escaped from his master to you. He shall dwell with you among you in the place which he shall choose, within one of your gates where it pleases him best. You shall not oppress him. There shall be no prostitute of the daughters of Israel, neither shall there be a sodomite of the sons of Israel. You shall not bring the hire of a harlot or the wages of a male prostitute into the house of Yahweh, your Elohim, for any vow, for even both these are an abomination to Yahweh, your Elohim. You shall not lend upon interest to your brother, interest of money, interest of food, interest of anything that is lent upon interest. To a foreigner you may lend upon interest, but to your brother you shall not lend upon interest, that Yahweh, your Elohim, may bless you in all that you put your hand to in the land which you go in to possess. When you shall vow a vow to Yahweh your Elohim, you shall not be slack to pay it, for Yahweh your Elohim will surely require it of you, and it would be sin to you. But if you shall refrain from making a vow, it shall be no sin in you. That which is gone out of your lips you shall observe and do, according as you have vowed to Yahweh your Elohim a free will offering, which you have promised with your mouth. When you come into your neighbor's vineyard, then you may eat grapes to your fill at your own pleasure, but you shall not put any in your vessel. When you come into your neighbor's standing grain, then you may pluck the ears with your hand, but you shall not move a sickle to your neighbor's standing grain. When a man takes a wife and marries her, then it shall be, if she finds no favor in his eyes, because he has found some unseemly thing in her, that he shall write her a bill of divorcement, and give it in her hand, and send her out of his house. And when she is departed out of his house, she may go and be another man's wife. And if the latter husband hates her and writes her a bill of divorcement and gives it to her hand, and sends her out of his house, or if the latter husband dies, who took her to be his wife, her former husband who sent her away may not take her again to be his wife. After that she is defiled, for that is an abomination before Yahweh. And you shall not cause the land to sin, which Yahweh your Elohim gives you for an inheritance. When a man takes a new wife, he shall not go out to war, neither shall he be charged with any business. He shall be free at home 1 year, and shall cheer his wife whom he has taken. No man shall take the meal or the upper millstone to pledge, for he takes a man's life to pledge. If a man is found stealing any of his brethren of the children of Israel, and he deals with him as a slave or sells him, then that thief shall die. So shall you put away the evil from among you. Take heed in the plague of leprosy that you observe diligently, and do according to all that the priests, the Levites, shall teach you. As I commanded them, so you shall observe to do. Remember what Yahweh your Elohim did to Miriam by the way as you came forth out of Egypt. When you lend your neighbor any manner of loan, you shall not go into his house to collect his pledge. You shall stand outside, and the man to whom you do lend shall bring forth the pledge outside to you. And if he be a poor man, and you shall not sleep with his pledge, you shall surely restore to him the pledge when the sun goes down, that he may sleep in his garment and bless you. And it shall be righteousness to you before Yahweh your Elohim. You shall not oppress a hired servant that is poor and needy, whether he is of your brethren or of your sojourners that are in your land within your gates. In his day you shall give him his hire, neither shall the sun go down upon it, for he is poor and sets his heart upon it, lest he cries against you to Yahweh, and it is sin to you. The fathers shall not be put to death for the children, neither shall the children be put to death for the fathers. Every man shall be put to death for his own sin. You shall not wrest the justice due to the sojourner, or to the fatherless, or take the widow's raiment to pledge, but you shall remember that you were a bondman in Egypt, and Yahweh your Elohim redeemed you there. Therefore, I command you to do this thing. When you reap your harvest in your field and have forgotten a sheaf in the field, you shall not go again to fetch it. It shall be for the sojourner, for the fatherless, and for the widow, that Yahweh your Elohim may bless you in all the work of your hands. When you beat your olive tree, you shall not go over the boughs again. It shall be for the sojourner, for the fatherless, and for the widow. When you gather the grapes of your vineyard, you shall not glean it after you. It shall be for the sojourner, for the fatherless, and for the widow. And you shall remember that you were a bondman in the land of Egypt. Therefore I command you to do this thing. If there is a controversy between men, and they come to judgment, and the judges judge them, then they shall justify the righteous and condemn the wicked. And it shall be, if the wicked man is worthy to be beaten, that the judge shall cause him to lie down and to be beaten before his face, according to his wickedness by number. 40 stripes he may give him, he shall not exceed, lest if he should exceed and beat him above these with many stripes, then your brother should seem vile to you. You shall not muzzle the ox when he treads out the grain. If brethren dwell together and one of them dies and has no son, the wife of the dead shall not be married outside to a stranger. Her husband's brother shall go in to her and take her to him to wife, and perform the duty of a husband's brother to her. And it shall be that the firstborn that she bears shall succeed in the name of his brother that is dead, that his name is not blotted out of Israel. And if the man does not want to take his brother's wife, then his brother's wife shall go up to the gate to the elders and say, my husband's brother refuses to raise up to his brother a name in Israel. He will not perform the duty of a husband's brother to me. Then the elders of his city shall call him and speak to him. And if he stands and says, I do not want to take her, then his brother's wife shall come to him in the presence of the elders, loose his shoe from off his foot, and spit in his face. And she shall answer and say, so shall it be done to the man that does not hold up his brother's house. And his name shall be called in Israel, the house of him that has his shoe loosed. When men fight together one with another, and the wife of the one draws near to deliver her husband out of the hand of him that fight with him, and puts forth her hand, and takes him by the private parts, then you shall cut off her hand. Her eyes shall have no pity. You shall not have in your bag diverse weights, a large and a small. You shall not have in your house diverse measures, a large and a small. A perfect and just weight shall you have. A perfect and just measure shall you have, that your days may be long in the land which Yahweh your Elohim gives you. For all that do such things, even all that do unrighteously, are an abomination to Yahweh your Elohim. Remember what Amalek did to you by the way as you came forth out of Egypt, how he met you by the way and attacked the hindmost of you and all that were feeble behind you, when you were faint and weary, and he feared not Elohim. Therefore it shall be, when Yahweh your Elohim has given you rest from all your enemies all around in the land which Yahweh your Elohim is giving you for an inheritance to possess it, that you shall blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. You shall not forget. Okay, so that's our first reading. Our second reading is Isaiah chapter 54, verses 1 through 10. So Isaiah chapter 54, verses 1 through 10. Sing, O barren, you that did not bear. Break forth into singing and cry aloud, you that did not travail with child. For more are the children of the desolate than the children of the married wife, says Yahweh. Enlarge the place of your tent, and let them stretch forth the curtains of your habitations. Do not spare, lengthen your cords, and strengthen your stakes. For you shall spread abroad on the right hand and on the left, and your seed shall possess the nations and make the desolate cities to be inhabited. Fear not, for you shall not be ashamed, neither be confounded, for you shall not be put to shame. For you shall forget the shame of your youth, and the reproach of your widowhood shall you remember no more. For your Maker is your husband, Yahweh of hosts is his name, and the Holy One of Israel is your Redeemer. The Elohim of the whole earth shall be called. For Yahweh has called you as a wife, forsaken and grieved in spirit, even a wife of youth when she is cast off, says your Elohim. For a small moment have I forsaken you, but with great mercies will I gather you. In overflowing wrath I hid my face from you for a moment, but with everlasting loving kindness will I have mercy on you, says Yahweh your Redeemer. For this is as the waters of Noah to me. For as I have sworn that the waters of Noah shall no more go over the earth, so have I sworn that I will not be angry with you nor rebuke you. For the mountains may depart and the hills be removed, but my loving kindness shall not depart from you, neither shall my covenant of peace be removed, says Yahweh that has mercy on you. Right. That was a good one. Okay, now the third and final reading is 1 Corinthians chapter 5, verses 1 through 5. So 1 Corinthians chapter 5, verses 1 through 5. It is actually reported that there is fornication among you, and such fornication as is not even among the Gentiles, that one of you has his father's wife. And you are puffed up and did not rather mourn that he that had done this deed might be taken away from among you. For I truly, being absent in body but present in spirit, have judged already as though I were present, him that has so performed this thing. In the name of our sovereign Yeshua, you being gathered together, and my spirit with the power of our sovereign Yeshua, to deliver such a one to Satan, for the destruction of the flesh, that the spirit may be saved in the day of the sovereign Yahweh. All right, and that concludes our readings for the day.
Wash away my sin, nothing but the blood of Yeshua. What can make me whole again? Nothing but the blood of Yeshua. Oh, precious is the flow that makes me white as snow. No other fount I know, nothing but the blood of Yeshua. All my pardon, sins I see, nothing but the blood of Yeshua. All my cleansing is my plea, nothing but the blood of Yeshua. Oh, precious is the flow that makes me white as snow. No other fount I know, nothing but the blood of Yeshua. Nothing can for sin atone, nothing but the blood of Yeshua. None of good that I have done, nothing but the blood of Yeshua. Oh, precious is the blood that makes me white as snow. No other fount I know, nothing but the blood of Yeshua. This is all my hope and faith, nothing but the blood of Yeshua. This is law of righteousness, nothing but the blood of Yeshua. Oh, precious is the flow that makes me white as snow. No other fount I know, nothing but the blood of Yeshua.
Sure, chapter 4. Is it working? Okay. Joshua chapter 4. And it came to pass when all the people were clean passed over the Jordan, that Yahweh spoke to Joshua, saying, Take you 12 men out of the people, out of every tribe of man, command you them, saying, Take you hence out of the midst of Jordan, out of the place where the priest's feet stood firm, 12 stones. You shall carry them over with you, and leave them in the lodging place where you shall lodge this night. Then Joshua called the 12 men whom he had prepared for of the children of Israel, out of every tribe of man. And Joshua said unto them, Pass over before the ark of Yahweh your Elohim into the midst of Jordan, and take you up every man of you a stone upon his shoulder. So these were not small stones, according unto the number of the tribe of the children of Israel, that this may be a sign among you, that when your children ask their father in time to come, saying, What mean you by these stones? Then you shall answer them, that the waters of the Jordan were cut off before the ark of the covenant of Yahweh, when it passed over the Jordan. The waters of the Jordan were cut off, and these stones shall be a memorial unto the children of Israel forever. And the children of Israel did so as Joshua commanded, and took up 12 stones out of the midst of the Jordan, as Yahweh spoke unto Joshua, and according to the number of the tribes of the children of Israel, and carried them over with them unto the place where they lodged, and laid them down there. And Joshua set up 12 stones in the midst of Jordan, in the place where the feet of the priests which bear the ark of the covenant stood. And they are there unto this day. For the priest which bear the ark stood in the midst of Jordan, until everything was finished that Yahweh commanded Joshua to speak unto the people. According to all that Moses commanded, Joshua and the people hastened and passed over. And it came to pass, when all the people were clean passed over, that the ark of Yahweh passed over, and the priest in the presence of the people, and the children of Reuben and the children of Gad, the half tribe of Manasseh, passed over armed before the children of Israel, as Moses spoke unto them. About 40,000 prepared for war passed over before Yahweh unto battle, to the plains of Jericho. On that day Yahweh magnified Joshua in the sight of all Israel, and they feared him, as they feared Moses all the days of his life. And Yahweh spoke unto Joshua, saying, Command the priests that bear the ark of the testimony, that they come up out of Jordan. Joshua therefore commanded the priests, saying, Come ye up out of Jordan. And it came to pass, when the priests that bear the ark of the covenant of Yahweh were come up out of the midst of Jordan, and the soles of the priests' feet were lifted up unto the dry land, that the waters of the Jordan returned unto their place, and flowed over all his banks, as they did before. And the people came up out of Jordan on the 10th day, the first month, and encamped at Gilgal, in the east border of Jericho. And those 12 stones which they took out of Jordan did Joshua pitch in Gilgal. And he spoke unto the children of Israel, saying, when your children shall ask their fathers in time to come, saying, what mean these stones? Then you shall let your children know, saying, Israel came over this Jordan on dry land. For Yahweh your Elohim dried up the waters of Jordan from before you until you were passed over, as Yahweh your Elohim did to the Red Sea, which he dried up from before us until we were gone over, that all the people of the earth might know the hand of Yahweh, that it is mighty, that you might fear Yahweh your Elohim forever. There's a story about a guy named John who really had a horrible memory. One day, John ran into a friend whom he had not seen in a long time. And John said to his friend, he greeted him and he said, Bill, do you remember what a bad memory I had? And Bill answered, yes, I certainly do. Well, it's not that bad anymore. I went to a seminar and it taught us how to remember things. It was a great seminar, and now I have a wonderful memory. Well, Bill answered back and says, that's great. What was the name of the seminar? Well, John said, wait a minute. My wife went with me. I'll ask her. He turned and saw his wife nearby. Then he turned back to Bill and says, what's the name of that flower with a long stem and thorns and a red bloom? Bill says, do you mean a rose? And Bill answered, yeah, thanks. John said, hey, Rose, what's the name of that seminar we attended? The problem with far too many believers is that we have short memories. We forget the victories that Yahweh has given us. We forget the blessings that Yahweh has given us. We forget the miracles that Yahweh has performed for us. In Hebrews 13:8, Yeshua Messiah is the same yesterday and today and forever. We need to remember what Yahweh has done for us and realize what he can do it again. Remember the victories. After Joshua and the people had crossed the Jordan, Yahweh gave Joshua another command. He said, choose 12 men from among the people, one from each tribe, and tell them to take up 12 stones from the middle of the Jordan, from right where the priest stood, and carry them over with you and put them down in a place where you will be tonight, where you camp out. Yahweh knew that they were short-minded people, and that they would soon forget all that he had just done for them. He also knew that their faith would be severely tested in days to come. Therefore, he had Joshua order 12 men to take stones from right in the middle of the Jordan, where the priest had stood with the ark. However, we need to notice how Joshua worded his orders to the 12 men. He says, go over before the ark of Yahweh, your Elohim, into the middle of the Jordan. We need to see that the role of the ark in his commands is crucial. He did not tell them to go and get stones from where the priest was standing, but he said, go over before the ark of Yahweh. The ark symbolized to them the presence of Yahweh. What they needed to remember was not that what they had done, but what Yahweh had done. They did not cross over the Jordan on dry ground because they were all powerful, but because Yahweh was all powerful. The purpose of the stones was to serve as a sign among you. In the future, when your children ask you, what do these stones mean? A stone is a monument, was commonly used in a memorial to remind the future generations of what had happened at the particular place. This is also common today. We can go to some town and squares and see the monuments to those from communities who gave their lives in war. This was not just to be a reminder to them of what Yahweh had done for them, but also a reminder to the generations to come. We can also see another reasons why they were a reminder. Notice that Joshua calls the ark of the covenant of Yahweh. This brings us back to the idea of a covenant. This victory is to be looked upon as an expression of Yahweh's covenant. Deuteronomy 7, verse 7. Yahweh did not set his love upon you, nor choose you because you were more numbered than any people, for you were the fewest of all people. But because Yahweh loved you, and because he would keep an oath which he had sworn unto your fathers, has Yahweh brought you out with a mighty hand, and redeemed you out of the house of bondmen, from the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Yahweh did this because he loved us. Yahweh still brings victories. I've always liked the story where the 3 old widows who lived together, one sister got up to go to bed, and halfway up the stairs, she stopped and asked, was I going up or was I coming down? And one sister replied with a hint of aggravation, you were going up to bed. The second sister headed to the kitchen to make herself a sandwich. And after that, she says, I'm so glad, what did I come in here for? And the other sister says, I'm so glad I'm not as forgetful as both of you guys. She knocked on the wood end of the table. And when she got up, she went to the door and says, who's there? You know, we laugh about things like that, but isn't that exactly how we are when it comes to Yahweh? Yahweh gives us a financial victory, and then the next time we get into financial trouble, what do? We worry. Yahweh gives us victory in our spiritual lives, and then when trouble comes our way, what do? We whine. Let me tell you something. If Yahweh did it once, he will do it again. If he gave you victory once, he will give it to you again. If he came to your rescue once, he will do it again. If he was there for when you needed him before, he'll do it again. We need to remember that. Yahweh doesn't change. His ways does not change. His character does not change. His grace does not change. He did it once, he'll do it again. So remember his blessings. And the Israelites did as Joshua commanded, in verse 8 to 14, stresses the blessings of obedience. In the beginning of verse 8, so the Israel did as Joshua commanded them. The representatives of the 12 tribes did exactly as Joshua had commanded, and then picked up the stones from the riverbed. The very fact that they were able to do so is a sign of the blessings of obedience. If they had not obeyed Yahweh and stepped out into the river, they never would have experienced this miracle of faith. However, because of their obedience, they experienced the power of Yahweh. Obedience brings blessings. Not only were they obeying Joshua, but in reality, they were obeying Yahweh. The end of verse 8 says, as Yahweh had told Joshua. Joshua was Yahweh's appointed leader. And as they obeyed him, they obeyed Yahweh. If we obey Yahweh's leader, we will be blessed. And who's Yahweh's leader now? Yeshua. If we disobey Yahweh's leader, you get the picture. Verse 9, we see that Joshua wanted the people to remember the blessings of obedience. It says Joshua set up the 12 stones that had been in the middle of the Jordan, at the spot where the priest who carried the Ark of the Covenant had stood. And they were there to this day. Okay, Here we have a little textual problem. If you will notice, in the NIV, there is a footnote for the verse. It states that this verse can read, Joshua also set up 12 stones. In fact, in the verse, it appears that Joshua also built another memorial of 12 stones in the middle of the Jordan. This is more likely the rendering of that text. Joshua also set up 12 stones, indicating that Joshua set up another set of 12 stones at the place where the priest had stood. Although at this time the Jordan was at flood stage, for most of the year the Jordan is only a few feet deep at the fords, which this is, and therefore this monument would have been visible. When they saw it, they would remember the blessings of obedience. Note about the obedience and sacrifice. We have all heard, and perhaps some of you might have even been to a revival. Revival is nothing more or less than a new obedience to Yahweh. If you want a blessing of revival, it will take the discipline of obedience. We need to remember what happened in the past when we have obeyed Yahweh and remembering the blessings that it brought. We need to remember what happened in the past when we disobeyed Yahweh and what it brought. Even the laws of nature tells us that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. The law of Yahweh is no different. If we obey Yahweh, we will be blessed. If we disobey Yahweh, we won't. So why we remember the miracles? The waters of the Jordan returned. Notice that the ark is mentioned again in verse 16, but it is given a new designation, the ark of the testimony. This word testimony means to repeat, to do again, has the sense of repetition and preeminence. Again, the idea of remembrance is stressed here. The thing that they are to remember was the miraculous way that Yahweh acted on their behalf. Joshua commands the priests to come up out of the river carrying the ark. And it says, no sooner had they set their feet on dry ground, the waters of the Jordan returned. And the flood stage began as before. The miraculous nature of the crossing event is once again highlighted in the statement that the waters returned to their flood stage the moment the priest's feet touched the dry ground. There could be no doubt that this was a miracle of Yahweh, and he did not want them to forget what he had done for them. When they got to the place of encampment at Gilgal, Joshua set up the monument with the stones taken from the Jordan and said, in the future, when your descendants ask their fathers, what do these stones mean? Tell them, Israel crossed the Jordan on dry ground. Tell them, Yahweh did a miracle. Tell them that in our hour of need, our Elohim showed up. Tell them that his arms are not so short that he cannot save. Tell them that our Elohim is Yahweh in heaven and on earth. Then he reminds them that this is the same thing he had done before. He said, Yahweh, your Elohim did to the Jordan just as he had done to the Red Sea when he dried up before until we had crossed over. This is the proof that Yahweh did it once. He can do it again. This is proof that Yahweh is not limited. And this is proof that Yeshua Messiah is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Joshua tells them that Yahweh did this so that all the people of the earth might know that the hand of Yahweh is powerful. Powerful to save, powerful to transform, powerful to heal. It's just the same. We need to remember that Yahweh has done in the past. Remember the miracles. Remember the answer to prayer. Remember the works of power. We need to remember that Yahweh has not changed. He's still in the miracle business. He is still in the healing business. We need to remember that he is still the Elohim of Joshua. He is still the Elohim of David. He is still the Elohim of Daniel. He is still the Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Remember what he has done in the past and believe him to do it again. We were just mentioning a little while ago, before services, about the first Exodus will be forgotten. Why? Because he's going to do it again. The second Exodus is going to happen. We need to put up some memorial stones in our lives. We need to remember the victories that we received. Remember the blessings that we received. Remember the miracles that we received. So what do you need to remember? So what do you need to trust him today? May you always remember. Yahweh bless. Page 3. The banquet is spread. I hear the call to the table of Yahweh. Immersed in the splendor, oh what a delight! His side. Come, come, come drink the water. Come drink the water that flows from the rock. Come and drink of this living water, flowing freely from Yah. To the mountain of Yah, my spirit is led. He is believing, he means what he said. Set apart living, oh this is so fine. Yeshua turned water to wine. Come, come, come drink the water. Come drink the water that flows from the rock. Come and drink of this living water, flowing freely from Yah. Hey, Kenya?
Our Heavenly Father, we're thankful for your love and mercy and kindness to your people. We thank you for this day that you've given us to come and worship you in spirit and in truth. We thank you for the people that come together and join together for your truth. We ask you to guide and lead and direct us throughout this day, throughout this year. We ask in Yeshua's name. So be it. Baruch haba b'shem Yahweh. Blessed is he who comes in the name of Yahweh. Hallelujah.